"Shut up. Who do you think you are, talking to my mom like that?" My husband yelled, slapping me hard across the face. His mother grinned, clearly pleased. But what happened 15 minutes later completely caught him off guard. Before we continue, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think about situations like this. Thanks, and now enjoy the story. The silence in our little two-bedroom apartment in Willow Creek, Chicago, felt delicate, like ice on a puddle in early spring. It was made up of the soft, steady breathing of our baby in the crib, the gentle ticking of the clock, and the faint hum of the fridge. Kira Hayes, a 28-year-old young mom, sat at the edge of the couch, careful not to move and disturb the fragile calm. Her son Micah was 6 months old. The last half-year had been a blur of sleepless nights, endless feedings, and an overwhelming love so strong it often made her tear up. She glanced down at her hands. Gone was the perfect manicure she once loved. Instead, her nails were short, and her skin was dry. Her job as a graphic designer felt like a lifetime ago, before maternity leave, before Micah. Now her main project was this little, milk-scented bundle of joy. The bedroom door creaked open quietly. Her husband Donovan stood there, tall and fit in a crisply pressed shirt. He looked like someone from a different world. The world of offices, meetings, and deadlines. "Is he asleep?" he whispered, tiptoeing toward the crib. "Aha," Kira nodded, getting up to join him. "Just rocked him to sleep. He was fussy for an hour." Donovan kissed her on the head. He smelled of expensive cologne and coffee. The smell always reminded Kira of the reliable, successful Donovan she fell in love with 2 years ago at a corporate party. Back then, he was a rising department head at a big tech company, and she was just a humble designer. Their romance was fast and beautiful. "You look tired," he said, his eyes resting on her face. "Maybe you should visit your folks this weekend. Get some rest. I can handle Micah myself." "Thanks, but not right now," Kira replied, smiling warmly. "My mother-in-law just got here to help." At the mention of his mom, Donovan visibly relaxed. Veronica, his mom, had arrived a week ago from the next state over, ready to take charge and whip the family into shape. She was energetic, bossy, and always sure she knew best. Her help mostly came in the form of criticism and unsolicited advice. Whether Kira was burping the baby wrong, not making the stew rich enough, or not dusting the corners well enough, Veronica always found something to point out. Donovan lowered his voice. "She asked me to tell you she's running low on her favorite instant coffee, the kind in the glass jar. Can you pick some up when you go out with the stroller?" Kira nodded. Over the past week, she'd memorized all her mother-in-law's food preferences. A specific brand of tea, a certain yogurt dessert, and bread from a particular bakery. Veronica didn't accept compromises. She'd stepped into their home like she was the one in charge. And Kira, exhausted from sleepless nights, didn't have the energy to argue. She just wanted some peace and quiet. That evening, while they sat together in the kitchen, Veronica put on her favorite record again. "I just don't understand you young people," she said, stirring her coffee. "You've got a house with a mortgage, the wife isn't working 'cause of maternity leave, and the baby's always crying. I raised Donnie on my own. His dad left, and I worked 2 jobs, but the house was clean, and my son was well fed. I never complained." Kira picked at her cold side dish with a fork, hearing this story for the 5th time. Donovan sat glued to his phone, pretending not to hear. He always did that when his mom started one of her speeches. "Don't listen to her," he'd say later. "She's just worried about us." "And you, sweetie, you've really let yourself go," Veronica continued, eyeing Kira from head to toe. "You're too thin, pale, and you've got bags under your eyes. Is that the kind of wife men like? A man needs a muse, a beauty, not an exhausted housewife." Kira's stomach tightened with hurt. She was barely getting 4 hours of sleep a night. All her energy was spent on Micah. She wanted to scream about how she hadn't had a minute to herself, how she missed going to a salon or just lying in the bath for more than 10 minutes. But she stayed quiet. Any word she spoke would be seen as disrespectful. "Mom, come on, why start this again?" Donovan said lazily, still not looking up from his screen. "Kira's a new mom. She's just tired." It's normal. Normal. Veronica snapped. When I had you, I was back at work in a week. And she's been home for 6 months and still complains about being tired. She stood up, signaling the end of the conversation. As she walked past Kira, she patted her on the shoulder with a patronizing smile. It's okay, girl. I'll teach you how to be a good wife and mom. Just remember to listen to your elders. Veronica headed to the patio door, and seconds later, the sharp smell of tobacco smoke drifted in. She smoked like a chimney, a pack a day. Kira had always known this, but it never bothered her before. Now, with Micah asleep in the next room, the smell felt toxic. She glanced at Donovan, who was still scrolling through his phone, oblivious to the smoke filling the room. Kira got up and closed the patio door, her heart racing. It wasn't just the smoke. It felt like her peaceful little world was starting to crack, and the smell was only the first sign. That night, when Donovan was in the shower and her mother-in-law had gone to sleep in the guest room, Kira sat by Micah's crib, watching his peaceful face. He made little sucking noises, scrunching up his nose in the cutest way. She gently ran her finger over his soft cheek. He was her entire world, her reason for living. And for him, she'd endure anything, even a controlling mother-in-law. But where did patience turn into a betrayal of her child? She remembered Donovan's words when he proposed. We'll be a team, Kira, always together. Where was that team now? Why couldn't he see that his mom was slowly tearing their family apart? The sound of running water echoed from the bathroom. Kira walked to the window, staring out at the glowing city lights. Outside, life was moving fast, full of meetings, events, and joy. But inside, her world felt like it was falling apart. Her life had become limited to the small space of the apartment and the baby's crib. And in this tiny world, an enemy had appeared, making everything feel off, both literally and figuratively. She opened her mother-in-law's suitcase sitting in the hallway, just to take a quick look. At the bottom, under a wallet and keychain, she found a pack of slim cigarettes and a lighter. Kira sighed. This was going to be tough. Really tough. The next morning, the usual routine started. She was up at 6 a.m., feeding Micah, sipping a quick cup of coffee while the baby cooed in his bouncer. Donovan had already left for work, without even having breakfast. Veronica came out of her room around 10, wearing a silk robe and perfect hair, looking like she'd just woken up in a 5-star hotel, not a guest room. Good morning, sweetie, she chirped, walking to the coffee maker. Where's my coffee? The one Donovan asked you to buy. Kira nodded, changing Micah's diaper on the table. I haven't been to the store yet. I haven't had time with Micah. Her mother-in-law pursed her lips, not happy. I thought a husband's request was a wife's law. Oh well, I'll settle for tea today. She poured herself hot water and sat down, pointedly ignoring Kira. Kira just pretended she didn't notice. She was already used to everything she did being judged. After finishing with Micah, she dressed him in a warm jumpsuit, ready for a walk. Where are you going? Veronica called out. To the park with Micah. I'll stop by for your coffee too. Hold on, her mother-in-law stood up. Let me dress him. That cap you put on him is too thin. It's windy. You'll make him sick. It's fine. A little fresh air never hurt anyone. I know better, Veronica snapped. I raised 2 children. Kira stayed quiet. Arguing wasn't worth it. Outside, she changed the cap Veronica had put on Micah, tucking it under the stroller and throwing the mother-in-law's cap away. While walking through the park, Kira couldn't help but notice how Veronica was slowly taking over their lives. She was already deciding what to have for dinner, when the baby should be bathed, and even what clothes he should wear. And Donovan? He just brushed it off. Mom means well. Don't argue with her. It's not worth the hassle. After the walk, Kira put Micah to sleep and decided to air out the nursery. She cracked the window open. The weather outside was beautiful, smelling of spring and fresh leaves. A few minutes later, she returned to the room and froze in the doorway. The air smelled strongly of tobacco. Kira peeked outside. Veronica was standing there, back to her, happily puffing on a cigarette and blowing the smoke toward the open window. Veronica! Kira shouted, unable to hold it in. Her mother-in-law jumped and turned around, not a bit embarrassed. What is it? Why are you shouting? You'll wake the baby. You're smoking right by the nursery window. Kira's voice shook as she tried to stay calm. All the smoke is coming into the room. Oh, come on, Veronica waved her off. The patio's big. It'll air out. You're such a delicate flower. Back in my day, we lived in cramped houses. You could hang a hat on the smoke in the hallway and nobody got sick. We all grew up healthy. She took another long drag and flicked the butt onto the flower bed below. Please don't do that again, Kira pleaded, feeling anger rise inside her. Mike is still so tiny. Smoke is bad for him. One cigarette won't hurt, Veronica scoffed. You're exaggerating. You mothers always treat your kids like fragile treasures. She walked past Kira into the kitchen, leaving a cloud of smoke behind her. Kira rushed into the nursery and opened the window wide. The room needed fresh air fast. She looked at Micah, still peacefully sleeping, but his little face was scrunching up, as if something was bothering him. Her heart squeezed in fear and helplessness. Later that evening, when Donovan got home from work, Kira knew she had to talk to him. She waited until Veronica went to watch her favorite show and then approached Donovan, who was sitting on the couch with his laptop. Donovan, we need to talk about your mom again. He sighed, leaning back. Kira, I worked all day. I'm tired. Can we not do this now? No, we need to talk now, she insisted. She was smoking on the patio today, and all the smoke went into Micah's room. So what? Donovan shrugged. She wasn't smoking in the room. You don't get it, Kira's voice wavered, her eyes filling with tears. It's dangerous for his health. He's so tiny. He could get lung problems, allergies. Stop being so dramatic, he interrupted, his tone casual. Nothing serious is going to happen from just one time. Mom's an adult. She can't just quit a 30-year habit overnight. You need to be more understanding. But he's our son. Kira's voice broke, rising in frustration. Don't you care? Of course I care. Donovan raised his voice too. But my mom is family too. She came here to help. And instead of thanking her, you keep grilling her and lecturing her. She already told me you're picking on her. Picking on her? Kira was stunned. I'm just asking her not to poison our child. Donovan slammed his laptop shut. You two figure it out. I don't want to be caught in the middle. You both matter to me. Just get along. With that, he got up and walked to the kitchen. Kira was left alone in the living room, tears streaming down her face. She felt betrayed. The man who promised to be her rock just walked away, leaving her to deal with his mother alone. That night, Kira thought for the first time that maybe Donovan loved his mom more than her, more than their son. It scared her, and she tried to push the thought away, blaming it on exhaustion and hormones. But deep down, a cold doubt had taken root. Late that night, when everyone was asleep, Kira went into the kitchen for a glass of water. The faint smell of tobacco still lingered in the air. She walked to the window and saw an ashtray, just a regular coffee mug with a couple of cigarette butts in it, sitting on the sill, hidden behind the curtains. So Veronica had been smoking in the kitchen with the window cracked open while they slept. Kira silently emptied the butts into the trash, washed the mug, and put it back. She wouldn't say anything to either of them, but from that moment on, she knew she had to stay on guard. A silent war had started, and in this fight, she would stand up for her son, no matter what. A week passed in silence, with Kira quietly resisting. Veronica kept smoking in secret, and Kira kept finding traces of her actions. There were cigarette butts buried under some vegetable peels in the trash, and a faint smell of smoke lingering in the bathroom. Kira stopped saying anything about it, and just focused on airing out the apartment, and keeping Micah away from her mother-in-law. Since there was no clear fight, Donovan was in a good mood. See, he'd say, I told you two would get along. It just took some time. Kira gave him a strained smile. She knew this wasn't peace. It was just the calm before the storm. Then the thing she feared most happened. One morning, Micah woke up with a harsh, barking cough. He was struggling to breathe, his tiny chest moving up and down with effort. Panic hit Kira right away. She called a pediatrician from a private clinic, not trusting the general doctor who brushed it off with, It's nothing serious. It'll pass. The pediatrician, a kind older woman named Dr. Olivia Reed, arrived in under an hour. She checked Micah's lungs, looked at his throat, and asked Kira a few questions. "Does anyone in the house smoke?" she asked, her tone getting serious. "Yes," Kira answered, feeling the weight of it. "My mother-in-law." "Where does she smoke? On the patio or in the kitchen?" "I told her not to," Kira added quietly. Dr. Reed sighed heavily. "The boy is developing obstructive bronchitis. For a 6-month-old, that's serious. His airways are still very narrow, and any irritant, especially tobacco smoke, can cause swelling and spasms." Kira's hands went cold. "What should I do?" "You must stop all smoke exposure immediately. No smoking on the patio, no smoke near the windows. The smoker must go outside, and when they come back, they need to wash their hands and change clothes before coming near the baby. Here's a prescription for a nebulizer. If there's no improvement in 2 days or if it gets worse, call an ambulance right away. He may need to go to the hospital." The words hospital and ambulance felt like a punch to the gut. When the doctor left, Kira sat by her crying son's crib, feeling a mix of fear, anger, and helplessness. Her baby was suffering because of an adult woman's selfishness. That evening, a serious confrontation happened. Kira gathered Donovan and Veronica in the living room. Trying to stay calm, she repeated the doctor's words. "From now on, smoking is banned in our apartment. If you need to smoke, Veronica, please go outside." Her mother-in-law didn't react much at first. When Kira finished, Veronica dramatically put her hand to her chest. "So you're blaming me for the baby's illness?" Her voice trembled with fake offense. "I'm just repeating the doctor's advice," Kira said firmly. "Tobacco smoke is harmful to an infant." "That's ridiculous." Veronica scoffed. "People have smoked all their lives, and kids grew up fine. These new doctors are just making stuff up to get more money." "Donnie, remember Uncle Cole, our neighbor? He smoked like a chimney, and his daughter turned out fine." Donovan, who had been quiet so far, glanced at Kira. "Maybe you shouldn't be so firm, Kira. It's hard for Mom to go outside every time. Her legs hurt." "We're talking about our son's health," Kira almost shouted. "Didn't you hear what the doctor said? Bronchitis? The hospital?" Donovan sighed, trying to stay calm. "It's not that big a deal. You need to relax. Mom's been smoking for 30 years. She can't just quit." "But he's our son." Kira raised her voice. "Donovan, you're not listening." "Well, my mom's family too," he snapped. "She came here to help. Instead of being grateful, you're attacking her. She already told me you're being hard on her." "I'm just trying to protect our child," Kira cried. "Well, maybe you should learn to get along with her," Donovan muttered, turning toward the kitchen. He slammed the door behind him. Kira was left standing in the living room, tears falling down her face. She felt betrayed. The man who promised to support her was siding with his mother, leaving her to handle it all. That night, Kira had an awful realization. Maybe Donovan loved his mother more than he loved her. The thought scared her, but she tried to ignore it, blaming it on exhaustion. Yet the doubt lingered. Later, when everyone was asleep, Kira went to get some water. She still smelled the faint trace of tobacco smoke in the air. As she walked to the window, she noticed a coffee mug on the sill with cigarette butts in it, hidden behind the curtains. So Veronica had been smoking in the kitchen with the window cracked open while they slept. Kira quietly emptied the butts, washed the mug, and put it back. She didn't say anything to either of them, but from that moment on, she knew she had to be on guard. A silent war had begun, and she was fighting for her son. A week passed with quiet resistance. Veronica kept sneaking cigarettes, and Kira kept finding evidence of it. One day, while unpacking groceries, Kira dropped an orange, and it rolled under the kitchen cabinet. Reaching for it, she felt something hard. She pulled out an old silver cigarette case. Inside were 3 cigarettes, the same brand Veronica always smoked. Her heart sank. She hadn't quit, she'd just gotten sneakier. Kira went to her mother-in-law's room and began sniffing around, trying to figure out where she was hiding the cigarettes. That night, she woke up to Micah's cries. As she went to check on him, She heard a rustling sound coming from Veronica's room. The door was cracked open. Kira peeked through and saw Veronica sitting on her bed with a vape pen, blowing clouds of vapor toward the window. Kira froze. Vapes don't smell much, but the vapor is just as bad for the lungs as regular smoke. Her mother-in-law had simply switched tactics. The next day, Kira went to confirm her suspicions. When Veronica went to the store, Kira searched her room. Under a stack of linens, she found a charger and several bottles of e-liquid in fruity flavors, like cherry and apple. They could easily hide any tobacco smell. That evening, Kira tried talking to Donovan again. "I found a vape pen in your mom's room," she said. "She's smoking it at night." "So what?" Donovan barely looked up from his computer. "They're not regular cigarettes. They're harmless." "Who told you that?" Kira asked, stunned. "They have nicotine and other chemicals. The vapor is just as dangerous as smoke." "Don't start with this again," he said, frustrated. "You're just looking for another reason to complain about my mom. She's already walking on eggshells around you. I just want no smoking in this house. Period," Kira said, almost shouting. "Can you get that through to her? And can you stop being so rude?" Donovan glared at her. "If you want peace, respect my mother." He stormed off, slamming the door behind him. Kira stood alone in the kitchen, cold fury filling her. She realized then that she no longer loved this man. The next day, she called her father. Kira didn't go into detail over the phone, but she knew he was the only one who could help her now. Not just comfort her, but help her make a plan. A plan to get her and Micah out of this mess. Her father arrived the next day while Donovan was at work. Kira sat him down and showed him the flash drive with the videos. They watched together, Kira's heart sinking as her father's jaw clenched tighter. "Yeah," her father finally said, "an actress from a roadside play and her son's just like her." Kira asked, "What should I do, Dad?" "Leave him," her father replied without hesitation. "Pack up and leave. Get out of there, no looking back." "But where will I go?" "The apartment's in Donovan's name. I'm on maternity leave without a job." "You'll come to me," her father said firmly. "My place is your home. We'll figure out the rest later. The most important thing now is to get you and Micah out of there." That evening, Kira approached Donovan. She calmly said, "Donovan, I want your mom to move out." "What?" He looked up from his phone, shocked. "Are you out of your mind? Where will she go?" "Back to where she came from," Kira said quietly. "She's been staying with us for almost a month, and we don't need her help anymore. Actually, she's just causing problems now." "You're the one causing problems," Donovan snapped. "Mom came here for us for her grandson, and you're kicking her out." Kira went all in. "She's poisoning our son with cigarette smoke and turning you against me." "That's not true," Donovan shouted. "You're making it all up. Mom is a saint." Kira silently pulled out her phone and played the video where Veronica was bad-mouthing her to a friend. Donovan stared at the screen, his face falling. He clearly didn't expect this. "That's just women talking," he stammered, but his tone was less confident now. "She didn't mean any harm." Kira played the clip of her mother-in-law stomping on her dress. Donovan's jaw dropped in shock. I don't know what to say," he mumbled. "Maybe it's edited." "Edited?" Kira laughed bitterly. "Are you serious? You're willing to believe some conspiracy theory just so you don't have to admit that your mother is nasty and malicious?" He went silent. Kira could see the inner struggle on his face. But to her horror, he made his choice. "Even if it's true," he said, avoiding her eyes, "she's my mom. I can't just kick her out. She's an elderly sick woman." "She's not sick, Donovan. She's a manipulator and you're her puppet." "Shut up." He jumped up. "Don't you dare talk about my mom like that." Kira knew this was the end. The last chance was gone. "Fine," she nodded. "If she's not leaving, I'm leaving. And I'm taking Micah with me." "What?" Donovan glared at her. "You can't take my son away." "Oh yes I can," Kira said firmly. "He'll live with me, and you can stay with your mom." The next day, while Donovan was at work and Veronica was out shopping, Kira started packing. Her dad showed up with a big suitcase and boxes, and they worked quickly. First, all the stuff for Micah, Clothes, toys, the crib, the stroller, then her own things. As Kira looked around the apartment she had once lovingly decorated, she felt nothing but disgust. Every object reminded her of lies and betrayal. She left the keys on the kitchen table with a short note. "I'm leaving. I'm filing for divorce." When Kira, her dad, and Micah, still asleep in his car seat, were leaving, they ran into Veronica. She was coming back with groceries, looking pleased and cheerful. When she saw Kira with her bags, she froze. "Where are you off to in such a hurry?" Veronica asked, sneering. "Home," Kira replied. "And this isn't your home?" Veronica scoffed. "The apartment's in Donnie's name, so good riddance. It's about time." Marcus stepped forward. "As for you, Miss Veronica, we'll be having a separate conversation in court." Veronica looked flustered for a second, but quickly regained her composure. "You'll find out everything soon enough," Marcus said, opening the car door for Kira. On the way to her dad's place, Kira stayed quiet. The streets passed by, and she thought about how her life had just been split into before and after. Even though the future was uncertain and scary, she felt a huge sense of relief. She had escaped the trap. The first few days at her father's apartment felt like recovery after a long illness. She slept a lot while her dad took care of Micah. He made her simple but delicious meals. Kira stayed quiet, trying to process everything. Donovan called her constantly, at first yelling and threatening to take Micah away, then begging her to come back, promising everything would change, that his mom would leave. Kira didn't believe a word. She just ignored his calls. Veronica called from a different number. "You'll regret this, she hissed into the phone. "I'll make sure you never see your son again." After that call, Marcus insisted Kira change her phone number. "Don't listen to their nonsense," he said. "A dog barks, but the caravan moves on. We need to focus on court." They hired a good family lawyer, Jordan Clark, known for her tough reputation. After hearing Kira's story and watching the videos, Jordan was confident. "This is a winnable case. We'll get the divorce quickly. The child custody part won't be an issue. Courts almost always give custody to the mother for infants. The apartment will be trickier," she warned. It turned out that even though the apartment was in Donovan's name, Kira had the right to half of the mortgage payments made during their marriage. "They'll argue that his mother made the down payment," Jordan cautioned. "But we have an ace up our sleeve." "What is it?" Kira asked. "Emotional distress and battery. That slap is domestic violence. We can file a separate lawsuit that will weaken their position and make them more willing to settle the property division." Kira hesitated. She didn't want to air all the dirty laundry, but her dad insisted. "He laid a hand on you. That's a crime. He has to face the consequences." Kira agreed. She realized this wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting herself and making sure she was no longer a victim. She would never let anyone treat her that way again. The case started. Just as Jordan predicted, Donovan's side was aggressive. His lawyer, a slick man in a suit, tried to paint Kira as a crazy, vengeful woman who'd started the conflict herself and was now trying to take Donovan for everything he had. Veronica, called as a witness, put on a big show. She cried, clutched her heart, and told the court how Kira had humiliated her. "She called me an old hag," she sobbed. "She forbid me from seeing my grandson." Kira sat quietly next to her lawyer, listening to the lies without reacting. After everything she had seen in the videos, nothing could surprise her anymore. In court, Donovan acted differently. He didn't yell or accuse. He sat there looking defeated, casting pleading glances at Kira. He tried to make her feel guilty, but Kira stayed strong. She looked right past him, remembering the slap and the anger in his voice. While the divorce and property case were moving forward, the battery case was also in progress. Kira had seen a doctor right after leaving Donovan. The bruise on her cheek had been documented. Donovan faced fines and an administrative arrest. This made him nervous. Veronica and the Hayes family went into full damage control. Veronica started calling mutual friends, spinning her own version of events. She described Kira as a gold digger who was trying to take everything from her son. Some people bought it, and a few of Kira's friends from Donovan's company distanced themselves. Kira was hurt, but not broken. She knew her true friends were still with her. She also started feeling pressure from a client on a freelance project, who demanded changes and threatened penalties. Kira was juggling court dates, caring for Micah, and work. There were days when she felt like she was running out of energy. One evening, after putting Micah down, Kira sat in her father's kitchen, staring blankly. Tired? Marcus asked quietly, sitting across from her. Very, she admitted. Sometimes, I just want to give up and agree to their terms. Never, her father said firmly. Do you hear me? Never give up. That's exactly what they want. They want to wear you down and make you quit. But you're stronger than them, Kira. You'll get through this. His confidence gave her strength. She drank her tea and got back to work. She was determined to prove she wasn't broken. A week after the latest court hearing, Donovan cornered her outside her father's building. Kira, we need to talk, he said, blocking her path. We have nothing to talk about, she replied, trying to walk around him. Listen, he grabbed her arm. Please, withdraw the battery complaint. I'll have problems at work if I get a conviction. You should have thought of that sooner, Kira said coldly, pulling her arm away. I'll make it up to you, he said quickly. I'll give you the apartment. Just withdraw the complaint. Kira stopped. What do you mean, give me the apartment? I mean, we'll sign a settlement agreement. The apartment stays with you, and you drop all claims, including the civil suit for battery. The offer was tempting. Her own apartment, the end of the lawsuits, the chance for a new start. I'll think about it, Kira said. That evening, she discussed it with her father and her lawyer. Jordan was skeptical. It's too generous. There's a catch. He's not afraid of a fine. He's afraid of something bigger. Maybe a conviction could affect his career or ability to get a loan. And if we agree, what's stopping him from going back on his word? Kira asked, will he back out? We'll make it legal. A settlement agreement approved by the court. He won't be able to back out, Jordan assured her. Her father agreed. The apartment is a good guarantee for you and Micah's future. Let him live with his fears. Punishment isn't always jail. Sometimes, it's losing everything you care about. Kira agreed. She wanted this over. Jordan contacted Donovan's lawyer, and they started preparing the settlement papers. Kira almost believed everything would soon be over, but she underestimated her mother-in-law. The day before the signing, Veronica called. Did you get what you wanted? Veronica sneered. Taking the last thing away from my son. Kira stayed calm. It's not me taking it. He's giving it to me. In exchange for my silence about him raising his hand to me. You think we'll just let you get the apartment that easily? Veronica laughed. Naive. Kira's heart skipped a beat. She told Jordan about the call. Don't worry about it, Jordan said. It's the last gasp. She's losing and angry. Tomorrow we'll sign everything and this nightmare will be over. But the nightmare wasn't over yet. The real climax was coming. Kira had no idea the trap Veronica had set for her. Kira slowly started to get out of the emotional shock from everything that happened in the apartment, but the pain that replaced it was a dull, constant ache. It felt like waking up after a major surgery. The numbness wore off, and now every part of her body was feeling the weight of what she had been through. She went through the motions with Micah, feeding him, changing his diapers, and taking him for walks around the park near her dad's place. But everything was automatic, and the joy she used to feel was gone. They spent the next hour in the park, talking about the details. As Kira walked home, she couldn't help but smile for the first time in a long while. It wasn't the forced smile she'd been giving for the past few months. This was a smile of a woman with a plan. A plan for some well-deserved, righteous revenge. Nia's idea was simple and clever. Betrayal, domestic violence, a manipulative mother-in-law. People love stories like that. You're suggesting I write an article? Kira asked, unsure. But that's airing our dirty laundry. And they didn't air it already? Nia shot back. The plan was to write an anonymous story based on Kira's life. Changing names and some details but keeping the drama at the core. A tyrant husband, a manipulative mother-in-law, the slap, the setup, the theft, and the house deed. You see, Nia explained. Donovan works for a big tech company. Reputation is everything to him. Imagine if his colleagues or boss read this. They won't know for sure it's about him, but the details will make them wonder. Kira wasn't sure, but after remembering her dad's words, "Turn your pain into fury," she realized the article could be a way to release everything she'd been holding inside while going after Donovan's weak spot, his ego and career. She agreed. They spent several evenings writing the article. Kira told her story, and Nia turned it into a smooth, compelling narrative. It felt therapeutic. As Kira talked about her pain over and over, it was like she was watching it from the outside. She saw not just her hurt but her mistakes too, her blind trust, missing the red flags, being passive. "I was so foolish," she said one day, finishing another part of the story. "No, you weren't," Nia reassured her. "You were just in a bad situation. Now you're taking your power back." The article was published anonymously on a popular online forum under the title "The Price of Silence." How I Escaped My Husband and His Vicious Mother. It went viral fast. Women flooded the comment section, sharing their own stories, offering support, and giving advice. Kira read the comments and felt lighter. She wasn't alone. Thousands of women had been through similar things, and her story might help someone, warn them, or give them strength. Later that night, Donovan called. His voice was full of anger. "What have you done, you tramp?" he yelled. "What article?" Kira asked, calm but her heart racing. "Don't pretend. Everyone at work's talking about it. My boss looked at me funny today." "I don't know what you're talking about," Kira said, pretending not to know. "I don't read forums. I have other things on my mind." "You did this on purpose," he shouted. "You're trying to ruin my career." "Donovan, if anyone's ruining your career, it's you," Kira replied. "And if you recognized yourself in the anonymous story, maybe you should think about why." She hung up. An hour later, Nia called. "Well, any reaction?" she asked. "Oh yeah," Kira chuckled. "He called, yelled, and accused me." "Perfect," Nia said, happy. "We hit the target. Stay strong, girl. He'll be even angrier now." Nia was right. At the next court hearing, Donovan and his lawyer were even more aggressive. They tried to challenge every document, every receipt, but Jordan Clark was ready. She calmly shut them down and then hit back. "Your Honor," she said, handing the judge a flash drive, "we want to introduce one more piece of evidence that shows the defendant's true character." The judge took the flash drive. "The court will review these materials. The session is adjourned." Afterward, Donovan rushed to Kira. "You have recordings," he hissed. "You were recording us?" "I have evidence of everything you both did," Kira said calmly. "You'll regret this," he muttered, then left quickly, catching up with his mom, who looked terrified. The spring sunlight filled Kira's new condo, making the kitchen and living room feel bright and welcoming. Her life had completely transformed in the past 2 years. She'd gone from feeling lost and insecure to being a confident, independent mother standing strong on her own. After the divorce, she didn't go back to her old job. Instead, she kept freelancing, and her skills as a graphic designer were finally being recognized. Word spread about her work, and that was all she needed. She got great clients, a steady income, and most importantly, the chance to work from home and spend as much time as possible with Micah. She started reading more, picked up yoga, and even began learning Italian. It felt like she was finally stepping into a new world where she was the main character of her own life, not just a side note in someone else's drama. Her relationship with Donovan and his mother had become distant. He still saw Micah sometimes, but those visits were getting rarer. He often canceled last minute, saying he was too busy or not feeling well. Kira didn't try to force him. She could see that the visits didn't bring joy to her son. Donovan was distant with him. He didn't know how to connect, and it showed. Veronica didn't even try to reach out anymore. Kira heard from mutual friends that Veronica had been struggling, rarely leaving the house. Her plan to control Micah's life had failed, and it seemed to have broken her. Kira didn't feel any satisfaction over this. There was no joy in seeing her mother-in-law's downfall, only sadness. It was clear that Veronica's need for control had caused so much pain for everyone involved. But Kira was moving forward. A new person had come into her life, Julian. He was an architect and a divorced dad to a sweet 5-year-old girl named Chloe. They met by chance in the park when their kids were fighting over a swing. They started chatting, and one conversation led to another. Julian was everything Donovan wasn't: calm, reliable, and caring. He didn't throw around fancy words, but his actions spoke volumes. He'd drive across town at night to fix a leaky faucet. He genuinely listened when she talked about her work. And he adored Micah, treating him like his own son. Even Marcus, who had been wary of men at first, gave Julian his approval after they met. Good guy. Genuine. You can count on him, he said. Today, Julian and Chloe were coming over as guests. Kira had baked her famous pie. The same one she had made for Donovan, but he'd always found something wrong with it. Julian, however, loved it. The doorbell rang, and Micah dashed into the hallway, excited. "Uncle Julian," he shouted. Kira followed him. Julian stood there, holding a big bouquet of daisies, Kira's favorite flowers, and a large box. Chloe peeked shyly from behind him. "Hey, beautiful ladies," Julian grinned, handing Kira the flowers. "These are for you." He walked in, scooped Micah up in his arms, and spun him around, making the little boy laugh nonstop. Kira watched, her heart warming with happiness. The kind of happiness she had only dreamed about. It wasn't based on grand promises or passion, but on respect, care, and trust. They sat down at the table, drinking tea and eating pie while the kids played nearby. Julian talked about his new project, and Kira shared a funny story from work. Everything felt simple, natural, and right. "You know," Julian said, taking Kira's hand, "I thank fate every day for that swing in the park." "Me too," Kira smiled. At that moment, her phone pinged with a new message. She glanced at the screen. It was an unfamiliar number. "Hey, it's Donovan. I know I have no right, but I wanted to wish Micah a happy birthday. He's 2.5 today. I remember. Tell him his dad loves him. And I'm sorry for everything. Be happy." Kira quietly deleted the message. She didn't feel anger or resentment, just a bit of surprise that he remembered. The past, it seemed, had finally let her go. Julian noticed the brief pause and looked at her with concern. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," Kira nodded. "Everything's just wonderful." She rested her head on his shoulder, listening to the children's laughter, thinking about how unpredictable the road to happiness had been. Sometimes you have to go through betrayal to truly appreciate loyalty. Sometimes you have to experience pain to find real joy. And sometimes the darkest night comes just before the dawn. Her dawn had come, and she knew there were bright, happy days ahead. Hey everyone, thanks so much for sticking with me and hearing my story all the way through. I really hope it helps some of you who might be going through something similar to find the strength to keep going. You deserve respect and happiness, so never let anyone make you think otherwise. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and drop a comment to share your thoughts.